up.
Hello everyone and welcome to Rob's Rogues and the Batman universe, and today we're taking a look at Deathstroke from the Batman Unlimited series, and of course this is from Batman Arkham Origins. Now right away, some people were kind of surprised, and I guess I'm assuming that most people were kind of like me and knew that these figures were coming out. I saw quite a few people online reviewing Deathstroke and Batman that were surprised that these figures were coming out. And I remember when Arkham Origins, the video game, was announced that it was coming out, that Mattel did make the announcement that they were doing two of these figures that were going to be part of the Unlimited line. And I think some people just kind of assumed that once the Unlimited line, be it DC Comics Unlimited and Batman Unlimited, when those lines were eventually canceled, I think some people assumed that they weren't coming out, but in fact, they were, and they were made for quite a while before, the game officially came out. These two figures, Batman and Deathstroke, are the last official figures from Mattel in the Unlimited line. We'll see some information on the back of the package here of some of the other figures that are kind of in the, or I shouldn't say kind of in the line, that are in the line. Basically what Mattel would do on the back of the card, you'll kind of see a revolving list. This is the only figure from Mattel that I am planning on picking up, and I have a specific reason why I'm only getting Deathstroke. I'm really trying to, I wouldn't say scale down the figures that I'm buying, but instead of buying 12 different Batman from the same, game or the same thing, I'm trying to only buy the ones that I think are the best, in my opinion. I do not have a Deathstroke in the DC Universe Classics scale. I've been saying I've jumped on late into picking up just some DC Universe Classics figures, and the Deathstroke figure goes for quite a bit of money, and I wanted to have one in the DC UC scale. Now Deathstroke I'm planning on picking up from DC Collectibles, and this one's going to be standing with my DC UC figures, so we'll get more into that here in just a little bit, but we'll take a look at the package. The familiar Batman Unlimited logo here, the Batman title here. For those that are not reading the comics, this is the font that is being used on the Snyder and Greg Capullo run. If you're not reading the Batman comic, you really should. It's probably hands down one of the best comics the DC is publishing in the New 52. So you can see the side panel art there, Deathstroke, and the back has a nice little picture of Deathstroke. It says, as seen in the game. It says, real name, Slade Wilson, occupation, crime fighter, location, Gotham City, powers, abilities, and skills, height and reflexes, agility, strength, and a vast arsenal of weapons, if I move my big, fat, stupid thumb. The other figures in the line, it says, Batman and Batman. The Batman would be Beware the Batman, and then, of course, the Batman from Arkham Origins, which I will not be picking up either of these two. I really have no need to pick up Beware the Batman. I have some on my DVR that I just haven't watched all of them yet. And the Arkham Origins, I've decided to pass on this one from Mattel because I'm getting the DC Collectibles, which is right over here. The read up here, if we can see this, says Slade Wilson underwent an experimental treatment that gave him enhanced senses, agility, and strength. Never failing to fulfill a contract, he became a ruthless mercenary known as Deathstroke, a master technician. He can anticipate opponents' moves, definitely interpret their attacks, and strike them down all without breaking a sweat. Combined with his mastery of guns and proficiency with a sword, Deathstroke is a formidable opponent for the Dark Knight. Deathstroke was, I believe, created by Marv Wolfman and Perez on the, I believe, the New Teen Titans, if I'm saying that right. If not, please forgive me. I think it's where Deathstroke originally came from, was more of a villain. That as the time went on, Deathstroke became like the anti-hero type deal. So he's out for money and is one of the assassins in the game of Arkham Origins. I have finished the main story. I'm going to reserve all the comments because I don't want to be, gushing over the game or all that type of stuff. We're going to be doing another episode of the Rogue Show, and we'll get into it more there. So enough of the rambling. Let's get this guy out of package, and hopefully he's as good out of package as he looks in the package. So stay tuned in just a second, and we'll see. All right, we've got Deathstroke out of the package, and getting him out of the package and kind of playing around with him a little bit. I've got to say, this is a very well sculpted figure, and I think Mattel was really pushing their boundaries a little bit and their limits of the different type of sculpting that they can do. If they can put this amount of sculpting into this figure, imagine what they could have done with some of the other ones. Just in the armor and the buckles and pouches and the Liefelds, if anybody gets that joke, that is just going in this figure. I really, really like this figure. I'm very glad that I picked it up. The Batman figure, I've seen some reviews on, and it looks okay. Again, I'm not going to be picking that one up. If I saw it in a store, which I know I probably won't, I might be kind of tempted to pick it up. But I do have the DC Collectibles one, which I think is going to be a far superior figure than the Mattel one. But this Deathstroke, I think, definitely warrants a pickup. If all he did was look like this and didn't move at all, this would be a great figure just to have standing on your shelf. The articulation is a little bit different. I think Mattel was trying to do some different things with what they were wanting to do articulation-wise. And he has some surprising new articulation that Mattel is trying, and some people might like it, some people might not. I'm glad they're trying to do something a little different, rather than give us the same body mold over and over and over and over again. So it really makes me glad that I'm picking this Deathstroke up to eventually be sitting with my DC Universe Classics figures, because I do want to pick up the DC Collectibles Arkham City Deathstroke for my DC collectible shelf. So enough of that. He does have quite a few weapons. Some of these, I believe, might be reused from other ones, but we'll take a look at the guns. And he holds a lot of these very well. He does have a trigger finger. So you can see that, I don't know, I'm not good with guns here, what this is supposed to be, but it's a very nice gun, very well sculpted, in some gunmetal type of paint. His staff just came out of his hand, and the staff is really nice. One of the few figures to get a staff, Bronze Tiger would be one, and then of course Tim Drake, Robin, gets a staff. So I always thought the staff was a really cool weapon to have. You can see the detail in this, and he uses this throughout the game, and in the challenge maps he uses this. Doesn't really use the sword, which I think is one of his primary weapons, but I think you do see it in a cutscene, but you don't really use it in the game. He does have another gun. Now, some people I've seen review this figure, it doesn't really go in a holster. It goes in the side of his leg, and it's got this little piece on it here. And some people I've seen kind of complain about this piece sticking out. That doesn't really bother me. I think it's a nice little gimmick that they're using. I mean, you could use your imagination. This could be some type of a sight or something like that. I know it's not supposed to be there. They could have done a holster, but they didn't. There's just a little slit here that you see, and it slides in here and doesn't come out. It snaps in there pretty good. Again, he can hold it because of his trigger finger. So I think that's pretty good. I will agree with some people that I've seen review this figure that the sword fits in the sheath here. Now, just looking at the sheath, this looks like it's a very long sword. In fact, it's not. It's actually really small. You can see here, it doesn't really go all the way down. It's not doing it justice here. But with the hilt at the top, you would think this would be a lot longer. Now I have the sword that Damian has from the DC Collectibles Batman Incorporated Damian. I have thought about maybe giving him that sword, or maybe finding another DC UC figure. It's a nice little sword. It's sculpted really well. You can see the orange on the hilt. I just think this should have been a lot longer. It looks like Deathstroke is going to open some mail, and it's his mail opener. Now the only bad thing about it, the hilt is so small, the handle here, that it just kind of sets in his hand. And it's the same on the other one. I just think this sword was made wrong. I mean, it's a nice piece to be able to have in his back. Since it's so tiny, I'm probably not going to have him with it. I mean, it looks cool to have it in his back. I'll probably definitely have him with the his staff in his hand, as he can hold that really well. I think they opted for him to primarily have his staff and guns, which is why his hands are a little bit wider. So since we're on to hands and everything like that, let's take a look at the articulation. And I do like the articulation. It's different. It's a little fresh than the standard DC UC articulation that we've had on every single figure. Like I said, I don't have the DC Universe Classics Deathstroke, so this is going to be my stand-in. And he kind of could be new 52-ish. So anyway, his head is on a stiff ball joint, but he gets a wonderful amount of articulation out of it. His head can go way down, and it can look up really far. So I like that. First, right off the bat, that head that it can look left to right, or tilt left to right a little bit, but as you can tell, he can get into some really good motions there. The bandana ponytail does come off. It's on a little peg. I think some people's has kind of like fallen out. Mine appears to be glued or stuck in there pretty good. Kind of get into the face here before we get away from it. You can see his eye. There's one blue eye in there. Again, I love the sculpting on it. Arms are on a ball joint, so they don't go up extremely far because of some of the armor, but again, that's okay. So it goes all the way up. Almost all the way up, and down pretty good. Does a full rotation, 360. Here's where some of it's different. He does bend at the elbow, and he also turns at the elbow. So a little something different they were doing, and he does have hand rotation. It's nice that they're not too stiff, but at the same time not loose. There's no ab crunch, which I'm okay with. I think the ab crunch definitely would have broken up all of his armor and things like that, but does turn at the waist. Turns very good, very well. Legs go forward. That's about as far forward as it's going to go, just because of the way this belt and pouch is designed, so he's kind of hitting it here. The other leg does go a little bit farther, but not too much. Again, it's kind of hindered because of the back. Has the T-joints. Again, they would go out farther, but because of the belts, and that's fine. They move fairly well. There's a bend at the knee. It does turn and swivel at the knee, which I think is a little different for Mattel to do. And he has a nice rocker that his foot rocks forward and back, and also swivels left to right. So you can get him in some really good poses. So even without the ab crunch, the legs and everything else are making up for that. So I think this is going to be a really nice figure. If you don't have a Deathstroke, or you want something a little bit different for Deathstroke to have on your shelf, I think this would be a very good one to get. They just kind of popped up on Amazon, which is where I got mine. Saw somebody do a review. They said they got it on Amazon, and I went right out and placed the order for Deathstroke. I knew Mattel was making these, but they never really said when they were coming out, and I assumed it was going to be very close to when the game was coming out. And it was about a week before the game that these hit Amazon and people were starting to review them. So what I'd like to do is bring up some comparisons and kind of show you how they are in scale. Now, currently, as I'm doing this review, this is the first one, and I have the DC Collectibles Black Mask and Batman off to the side, so I won't be able to do the comparison with the DC Collectibles Arkham Origins figures until I do those two reviews. But I will show you some other ones really quick. Alright, the first one up here is going to be the Mattel Arkham City Batman. And as you can tell, this Batman is taller than Deathstroke. Just by a little bit. The Mattel figures for Arkham City were made taller than the normal DC UC figures, so they would be in scale with the DC Collectibles figures. So you could kind of pick and choose which Batman you wanted or which Robin you wanted, and you could kind of intermix the Mattel and DC Collectibles together. So until I get the DC Collectibles Arkham Origins figures opened up, I'm kind of curious as to their heights. I've seen some people do a comparison with the Mattel Origins figures of Batman, and this Batman is taller, but I wanted to show you this first one here that it's not horrible, but Deathstroke is slightly a little bit smaller. I think Deathstroke should be about the same height as Batman. We'll do another comparison here. Now here's one quick comparison I'm going to do, but here's the DC Collectibles Robin figure, and Deathstroke is a little bit taller than the DC Collectibles Robin figure, and so again, I don't think Deathstroke should be the same height as Robin. I just kind of wanted to show you that really quick here. Alright, here is like the DC superheroes. Like, this is actually the Batman Legacy, but it's a superheroes body mold. It's kind of been repainted. As you see, Deathstroke is actually a little bit taller than this particular Batman. And here is the Young Justice Batman, which is actually the standard height for the normal DC Universe Classics Batman. So these two are actually the correct height that I think each other should be in size and scale. So Deathstroke is going to work very, very well with your DC UC. If you if you don't have a Deathstroke, this might be one to definitely pick up, that he is going to be in scale with your DC UC figures. I'll bring up one more DC UC figure. Here's the new 52 Batman. And this Batman, for some reason, is a little bit shorter. Some people's Batmans. I do have the shiny Batman. He's actually downstairs, and the shiny Batman is the same height as the DC Universe, like the Young Justice Batman or your normal DC UC Batman. And this one it's really, really close that Deathstroke is a little bit taller, but for whatever reason, the Superman and Batman for the new 52 from the All-Star line are a tad bit smaller. So I don't know exactly what was going on, but they both will definitely work very well. So he'll be able to stand in with my DC UC figures very, very well. Alright, and kind of closing here, I think this is a really, really good figure. I think Mattel did a really good job. His articulation is actually really kind of refreshing. I was glad that Mattel did something just a little bit different. I think this is a nice way to close out their Unlimited line. And this figure had the potential to be kind of a sleeper, but the sculpting is just done very, very well on this figure. I think this figure is actually sculpted better than the Batman from this line, from the Arkham Origins Unlimited line that Mattel is doing. So if you're kind of on the fence about this Deathstroke, I would hop over to Amazon. He's about $15.99. And depending on how much stuff you buy from Amazon, if you're over $25, you can get a free shipping. So maybe pick up he and Batman if you so choose, or pick up the DC Collectibles Batman to go with him. I'm really anxious to get the Collectibles Batman out and see what the collectibles size are. If maybe the Origins figures are a little bit smaller, or if they are in fact the same height as the Arkham City and Arkham Asylum figures. So anyway, today we've been taking a look at Deathstroke from the Batman Unlimited line, and more importantly, the Batman Arkham Origins figures, and there were only two in this set, and the final two figures. This is the only one that I'm picking up. It is, again, Deathstroke. So I'm glad you guys tuned in to watch. We've got a couple more figures from Arkham Origins coming out, so As always, this is Rob for Rob's Rogues and the Batman Universe signing off saying we will see you guys next time.